Union Berlin are having a very tricky season. A side that last year qualified for the Champions League in the Bundesliga now find themselves rock bottom of the same league only a little bit of time later, and it looks like they might be under huge threat of relegation. And for me, that means one thing. It's time to rebuild them in Football Manager. That's right, today we'll be taking over as Union Berlin manager in FM24. I believe I've got the pronunciation of that right. We're going to give ourselves 5 seasons, not just to not get relegated as they're trying to do in real life, but I want to push for some European glory and potentially also try and challenge Bayern Munich at the top of the Bundesliga to try and finally bring that Bundesliga title to the capital of Germany, to Berlin. But being a Champions League side, we do have some quality players in our team. One of our best, according to the game, is our centre-back, a 25-year-old Dutchman by the name of Danilo Dochi, who is a physical presence at the back. Robin Gosens is a brilliant left-back / left wing-back who is now getting to the later ages of his career, but was once doing very, very well for Atalanta, moved to Inter, and now has made his way to Union. And this season also sees the incoming of Leonardo Bonucci, the 36-year-old Italian leader, coming from Juventus to help us out for one season. But financially, things aren't looking great. We do have £4 million to spend, but we've got £14 million negative balance here at the club. And when it comes to the debts and loans, there's over £50 million worth of debt. And we are predicted to finish 7th this season with 50-1 title odds. So we're not really going to have the money to improve that team to become a regular Champions League contender for a little while yet by the looks of it. And we're also going to want to upgrade our facilities, which are definitely not in the best state at all. Before we get started with the rebuild though, I'd like to ask you guys, if you could do me a huge favour, show your support for me, scroll down, hit the like button. It's free to do. You can forget you ever did it, and it really, really does help out the channel more than you could possibly imagine. And on top of that, if you haven't yet subscribed, I'd hugely appreciate it if you could hit that button too. Currently, over 70% of you guys watching aren't subscribed, so it'd be amazing if you could check, and if you haven't hit that button, then please do so. Don't forget to comment down below who you want to see rebuilt next. Every rebuild that we do comes from your guys' comments. There's also a Football Manager Discord in the description should you want to join that. And finally, the last thing, if you want to continue this rebuild yourself, you can get access to these save files over on my Patreon, which you can find linked down below in the description. Over there, you can support me as a creator, which is obviously really beneficial to me, and in return, you can get access to these files should you want them. With that being said, let's make our transfers for Season 1. And whilst we only had £4 million to spend, we've actually done quite a bit of business, selling 2 key players and bringing in 3 players who I hope can be key going forward. Firstly, Geraldo Becker. He was one of Union's best players over the last few seasons, scoring 11 in the 22-23 season that qualified them for the Champions League. A winger that can also play up front, but he had 1 year left on his deal with 0 interest in extending it due to the interest shown in him from Saudi Arabian side Al Shabab. They've gone ahead and made a deal for him. We've had to let him go because it was either get 6 mil for him now or get nothing for him in the future. It's £6 million that we can reinvest in the team, so we say goodbye to him, and hopefully we've done enough to replace him. And we're also going to need a replacement at centre-back. Our German central defender Robin Nosch, formerly of Wolfsburg, has now made his way to Al Shabab for £4.6 million. He's been a consistent player, regularly starting at the back for Union over the last few years, but it's time to say goodbye to him, and combined that was about £10 million that we could reinvest in our first team. And we started off by spending £1 million on a Mexican forward option who has 4 goals in 5 international appearances. His name is Jose Juan Macias, and he joins us from Deportivo Guadalajara. Now, he can play off the left or up front and offers us some depth in those attacking areas. At 23, he's not yet in his prime either, so hopefully he can contribute with a few goals over the next few years. And for £1 million, there's not much risk attached to this transfer. We then spent over £5 million on Rodrigo Riquelme, joining us from Atletico Madrid. He's an attacking midfield option who can play at right wing, left wing, striker if we need him to, and even central midfield. He is a talented individual with great creativity going forward, as well as a final product when it comes to the finishing ability. He's physically quite well rounded, as he is mentally. 23 years of age, ready for his chance now here at Union. He's played for Atletico, Bournemouth, Mirandes, Girona, and now he's here. £5.5 million has bought him to us, eventually rising to £6 million. And hopefully at the age of 23, we can get a good few years out of him and maybe sell him on for a profit. And we've got the same plan for this man here, Oumar Soleil, a French 23-year-old centre-back, joining us as Robin Nosch's replacement. £8 million has been the fee for him, potentially rising to 8.5, so it's a little bit more than what we sold our German centre-back for, but but the former Salzburg player is 23, so he's still got a lot of potential to get better yet. He's a good ball-playing defender who's 6'4", he's strong, and he's fairly quick as well, and I really do think he'll suit the system that we're trying to play with Union. And that is a 5-back gegenpressing system that I'm hoping will reap us some rewards. I haven't had much success with 5-back in FM24, so we'll see whether this really works for us, but we've got 3 central defenders, 2 wing-backs, 2 midfielders, 2 wide players, and then a striker. And if we do pick our best 11 currently, it looks something like this. A few of these players aren't currently at the club. We've got Rono in goal, so just to introduce you to him, he is our starting keeper. Doki you've met, Bonucci you've met, and then also Diogo Liete here, a Portuguese defender. We've got Trimmel at right wing-back, an Austrian 36-year-old who isn't going to be around for long, I wouldn't have thought. Gosens, who you've met. A 24-year-old Hungarian midfielder by the name of Schaefer. He is the midfield partner of Rani Khedira, who is a 29-year-old experienced German midfielder. We've got Llewellyn on the right flank, who's on loan at Stuttgart. Raquelme coming off the left. And then we've got Jordan, who's a USA international striker, out on loan with Borussia Mönchengladbach. I would imagine as the season goes on, Bonucci might get replaced by Soleil. We'll see the introduction of Kevin Volland up front. David Datro Fofana is on loan from Chelsea for the season, and hopefully we'll see some good performances out of him. He's one of the reasons I thought we could sell Becker, because I think Fofana will contribute with a lot of goals this year. But with that being said, our team is ready to go for season 1. Let's see how we can do, and then we can really get started with our rebuild in the second season. And I believe we were predicted 7 or 8th at the start of the year, and that is exactly where we finished. 7th spot, 52 points, 12 losses, 7 draws, and 3 points away from a Conference League qualification spot, which has been taken surprisingly by Bochum. Leverkusen, Frankfurt, Leipzig, Dortmund, and Munich were the teams above us, the kind of teams you expect to be around those top places. So it's not been an awful year. Yes, we are not in European football this season, but we finished about where we expected to, whilst also playing Champions League football. So we were in multiple competitions, knocked out in the group stage, mind you. Did we show any real effort at all? We finished rock bottom of our group, minus 15 goal difference, 1 win coming against Braga away from home. But we were in a group with PSG and Atletico Madrid. So it is quite disappointing, but we were up against some good teams. Our biggest disappointment though was the Pokal, knocked out in the first round of all things by Sandhausen, who are a 3rd division side, I believe. So that was very disappointing. And there might be a case to adjust our tactic, because no one really had a good year. The best season out of anyone came from Paul Yeckel, who is leaving us at the end of the season with his contract up. Doki played fairly well, as did our goalkeeper Rono, another player whose contract has expired and he is going to be going to Saudi Arabia. Rani Khedira was okay. Our biggest goal scorer was David Datro Fofana, who contributed 18. Obviously, he's not going to be here next season, so we need to replace that in our 11. But yeah, not the best year at all. We definitely need to work on this, and to do so, we've been given £5 million and £56,000 in the wage budget. Trimmel is leaving, Yeckel is leaving, Rono is leaving, as is another goalkeeper of ours, and a striker, Kevin Behrens, is going to Columbus Crew. So there's a lot of players leaving, not much money to spend to reinvest in the squad, so it's going to be a tough summer, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, quite a lot of movement this transfer window, so let's move on with the outgoings quite quickly. Firstly, Kevin Volland continues to tour around the Bundesliga. He's now left to join Freiburg for £2.3 million, meaning he's now played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 German clubs in his career. Lucas Toussaint is a player that I never really rated when I saw him in our team, so we've sold him on to join Brest in Ligue 1 for 1.5 mil. The club only paid £2 million for him from Hertha, so really we're not losing the most money. We had a lot of depth at left wing back with Gosens and Russell, so I've decided to let Timotheus Puchas here leave to join Hamburg, a 25-year-old Polish international. He's left for £1.4 million. Again, that's not a huge loss on what Union initially paid for him, but they only got 1 appearance out of the guy ever. But we have brought in a lot of quality players into our 11. Our first signing was Alejandro Zendejas. He's a USA international who can play central midfield or on the wing, and he is signed from the Mexican divisions from Club America for $3.6 million, which is an absolute bargain for a player that's been doing exceptionally well. 5'5", good in all areas, can create as well as score goals. I feel like he'll be a great addition to our 11. Remember, we don't have European football this season. We'll only be focusing on the Pokal and the Bundesliga, so hopefully this year we can finish in a better position than last. And our new goalkeeper to help us there is Franco Israel, who has big boots to fill in the net. He's cost us $2.5 million from Sporting Club de Portugal after 28 appearances for them and a good season. He caught the eyes of our scouts and we've gone for him. If you don't know, we only sign players that our scouts recommend here, so I can't use my own knowledge of Football Manager in these rebuilds, but the 24-year-old Uruguayan international will hopefully be our starting goalkeeper for the next few years. We've also added to our defensive ranks with Matteo Viti joining, an Italian 22-year-old coming in from Sassuolo for 7.5 million. He signed for Nice from Empoli for 10, got loaned out, did okay in Serie A, and now we've picked him up for 7.5 mil. A player that can play out of the back and would easily fit a back three, but could also play in a normal back four as well. So hopefully this one will work out well. And I also have a lot of faith in our new winger, Giannis Konstantelias, a Greek 21-year-old joining for £6.5 million. He's not a goal scorer, and that is something I think we are going to lack in this team. With Fofana leaving, I don't feel like we've added enough goals in this transfer window. And with 8 finishing, I don't think Konstantelias is really going to help in that department, but he is a great dribbler on that left-hand side who can also play through the middle. He's a player with a lot of potential and is seen as one of the crown jewels of the Greek national team, so fingers crossed he can do the business for us. Then we've got some extra depth at right wing back. Julian Araujo, a Mexican 22-year-old, has joined on loan. He's a Barcelona player who spent last season at Las Palmas, having joined originally from the MLS from LA Galaxy. He's going to be competing for that right wing back position, and you can see here I haven't really settled on a tactic because I'm now thinking about playing a 4 at the back system, but we'll see. That might change back to the 5 back as time goes on. We've definitely got the personnel that fits a 5 at the back situation, but I just feel like 4 at the back is going to be more beneficial to us in the Bundesliga, so we'll see how we get on. But our best 11 is apparently Israel in goal, Araujo, Doki, Lerte and Gosens at the back, with Schaefer, Khedira, Zendejas, Riquelme, with Konstantelias, and then Jordan up front, who is the guy who was on loan at Borussia Mönchengladbach last season. So hopefully with this team we can perform a lot better than we did last year. Juranovic is also a big key player who I haven't shown yet, a Croatian 28-year-old formerly of Celtic and Legia Warsaw. He is going to be a big player for us, I am sure. And this season we're predicted to finish in 8th spot. 50-1 odds to win the league. We're not really going to be competing with Bayern Munich yet by the looks of it, but fingers crossed we can have a good year in season 2, and realistically we really need it. And it has not been a good season at all, and in fact there's a good chance we might potentially lose our job if season 3 does not go well. And I don't say that lightly. There's not often in rebuilds that I think we could lose our job, but they're expecting to be a European level side here at Berlin, and we finished 8th one year, and now this season we have finished in 10th spot. 42 points is way away from where we were last year, 16 losses and 6 draws, and a second round exit in the Pokal to a club that are in the 3rd division yet again. Really, really disappointing. And we are going to have a lot of fingers pointed at us this year, and that is to be expected because we are not performing well at all. In terms of players on the pitch though, we've got Rodrigo Riquelme as one of our best, playing in that number 10 position. Even though the new tactic didn't really seem to work for us, it at least got some good performances out of him, and he is now wanted by Leipzig and Al Ahly out in Saudi Arabia. For 6 million, we've definitely got our money's worth. 12 goals and 6 assists this season. He has been one of the few bright sparks in our team, alongside Khedira, Doki, and even those two haven't played great, and you can really see we lack goals this year. Macias got 8, Konstantelias got 4, but outside of that, no one was really scoring for us, and that has hurt us this year. Financially, next season, we've only been given £4 million to spend. We've still got a negative transfer balance, and the debt is only getting higher. Being out of European football has really hurt this club, so we need to make sure we take them back into those European spots next season. But with £4 million and a 10th place finish this year, it's going to be really hard to use that money to upgrade the team. So we'll see what we can do in season 3. Don't worry, this is the last time I'll ask you, but if you are enjoying the video up to this point, I'd really appreciate it if you could smash the like button and subscribe. We do this kind of content every week here on the channel, so if you do enjoy it, make sure you stick around and hit that subscribe button. But let's get back to the season 3 transfers, where we started with 4 million, but eventually raked in £30 million worth from the outgoing sales. Firstly, Diogo Lete has left the club to join Frankfurt for 12.5 million. He asked to leave once Frankfurt came in, and despite being one of our best players, we do have Sole, we do have Viti at the back, as well as our man Danilo Doki, so I feel like it made sense to let Liete go. If he wanted to leave, we could reinvest that money in the team. We've also got some decent cash for some aging players, with Robin Gosens going to Frankfurt for 6.75 million. But don't worry, we didn't sell any more players to Frankfurt. The next player to leave though was Rani Khedira. He's got himself a 60 grand a week contract at El Shabab out in Saudi Arabia, and we got 6.25 million in return. Yannick Habera is a central midfielder who has joined Bochum Bochum for 2.3 million. And Jordan has left to join Schalke for a fee of £2 million. Played a fair bit last year, but only scored 5 goals. He's not someone that I think we can rely on. But hopefully we'll be able to rely on some of our incomings. Firstly, Felix Agu has joined us for completely free. He's a 25-year-old Nigerian who's going to offer us depth at right and left back, coming in for absolutely nothing after his contract expired at Werder Bremen. Reinier of Real Madrid and formerly of Borussia Dortmund has joined us for £1.6 million. He's a player that has lots of potential but is yet to fulfill it. Originally joined Real Madrid for £26 million. They've sold him for £1 million. Fingers crossed we can see the kind of player that they invested so much money in originally here at Union. The man that I'm hoping will deliver us the goals this season is Fernino, a Spanish 24-year-old who was great in FM23. Our scouts recommended him here after some fantastic seasons in the second division of Spain. £4 million is the fee, so there's not too much pressure on him to score too many for that fee, but we are going to need goals because we've got really no one who can contribute otherwise. Federico Redondo has given us some extra midfield depth here with the likes of Khedira leaving. We've lowered the age of the squad as well. The Argentinian 22-year-old comes in from Argentinos Juniors with a lot of potential, a lot of hype around his name, but I feel like he could live up to the bill. Quinn Sullivan is a player that can operate through the middle or on that right wing who joins us from Philadelphia Union for £6 million. From one Union to another, he's been great for them last year with 6 assists and a 7.33 average match rating in 18 games. We'll be hoping he can deliver that kind of form for us. We've also got a new left back to replace Gosens for about the same amount of money that he left for. This time it's a 25-year-old coming in for the 31-year-old. £7 million is the fee for Leonardo Lello from Cassiopeia. I have seen him in some saves turn out to be a great player. Our scouts found him here and I thought, yes, he is exactly what we need. A bargain option who can grow and potentially be sold on for a profit in the future. If we want to keep developing as a club, I think our best model is to buy these players young, develop them and sell them on for a profit. And we've done the same with Arden Yashri here, a Swiss international midfielder, 22 years of age, joining us from Luzern after a phenomenal year out for them. A 7.47 average match rating, a strong central midfield option who's great mentally and technically too. I think he could be an absolute gem. And that now leaves our best 11 looking like this, with Israel in goal, Juranovic, Doki, Vitti and Lello making up the defence, Schaefer and Yashiri in the midfield with Raquelme, Quinn Sullivan, Constance Elias and Fernino. Hopefully now we can start seeing some more goals because as far as rebuilds go, this is pretty much a complete 11 that we have made ourselves. There's a few players left over, but if this doesn't start doing well, our job will definitely be on the line. In terms of the season preview, we are predicted to finish 10th yet again, 150 to 1 odds to win the league. We are really not seen as a team that is going to challenge at top of the table. And as the years go by, I feel like we're less and less likely to actually challenge for that Bundesliga title. I mean, Schalke have just been promoted and are right next to us in terms of that season prediction. So that is really not great. Financially, there is still a negative balance and there's still quite a bit in the net debt. However, that has gone down a little bit, but we really need to see some improvements in season 3. Otherwise, this rebuild might end early. And thank God we have actually had a good season, finishing in 4th place in a Champions League spot. 63 points was very good. It meant we finished above the likes of Leverkusen and Wolfsburg. Leipzig have actually toppled Bayern Munich to the title for the last 2 years, and Dortmund are only just 6 points ahead of us. So we're not quite putting on a title challenge yet, but we are getting better. We're losing too many games, drawing too many, but it's been a much better year from us, beating the teams that you'd expect us to beat in what has been a fantastic season, considering where we were before. The great performers this year were Lello in goal, Raquelme with 12 goals in 36 appearances, still wanted by some big clubs. Quinn Sullivan hit 11 on his first season here, which is great to see. Reinier got 8 goals as well, so we're starting to get some more goals from around the pitch. Fernino had a poor season in terms of an average rating, but did chip in with 12 goals in the league, which obviously would have helped us. But it's not quite the 20 goal a season striker that we are after in this team. I was asking Lello and Fernino to play as often as possible, one of which played really well in Lello, but Fernino not quite as much. But overall, this is a much better season for us, and qualifying for the Champions League will help us massively. You can see that because we've been given £15 million to spend, and we finally have a positive balance of £17 million. There's only £20 million in the debts, and hopefully now, with that money in the bank, we can start upgrading the facilities, upgrading the club, which will lead us to more success in the future. But we're ready to go. Season 4 now, getting towards the end of this rebuild. Hopefully, we can start picking up some trophies. Before we get into the Season 4 transfers, just want to take a second to say a big thank you to you guys who are supporting me over on Patreon. It really does help, and hopefully you are getting the joy of having those rebuild files for yourself. A few of you have started to share your stories with me, which is awesome, and if you want to do that, by the way, we have upgraded our Discord as well, which, like I said, you can find linked in the description. You can now have forums over there where you can update people about your save. We have over 700 members. It's a brilliant community ran by some great people. Anything from just sharing your save to asking questions about Football Manager, it's a great place to be, so make sure you join that if you're into that kind of thing. But let's check out the Season 4 transfers. And on top of the £10 million we already had to spend this summer, we have had our first big sale of this rebuild, because Rodrigo Riquelme has joined Al Hilal out in Saudi Arabia on 500 grand a week. How could you blame him for wanting to leave? But we got a huge fee of 40 million, which is great for a player that we spent 6 mil on and contributed, 20, 30 goals or so by the looks of it there, and about 15 assists. So, you know what? I'm definitely going to take that. He's been a great player. That's exactly what the game plan was. Buy young, develop, and then sell for a profit. So Riquelme has left us. As has Juranovic, the 30-year-old Croatian, had a year left on his deal, if I remember correct, and did not want to extend with us. So he's gone to Saudi Arabia for 2.5 mil. And unfortunately, it didn't quite work out here for Jose Joan Macias. He's gone back to Mexico to play for Tigres at the age of 26. I mean, he did okay for us, scored a few goals. We got our £1 million worth, made about 500k of it back. So it's not the worst deal ever made. And then coming in, we've put a big focus this summer on German players joining us, because the board were asking for that, and we want to make sure this board don't sack us. So we've done so. This isn't a German player, quite clearly, but I do think he is a very good signing. His name is Valentin Antov, comes in as a 4th choice centre-back, is only expecting to play a few games a season. He's a Bulgarian international with plenty of experience, played in the Italian and Bulgarian divisions, and has done fairly well. 42 caps for your international team at the age of 25 is nothing to turn your nose up at, so we're delighted to bring him in. But then we started to spend our Riquelme money, with Can Özcan joining us from Nuremberg for 7.75 million. He's a player with a lot of potential, a 20-year-old German national, and even though his face isn't shown here for some reason with this face pack, he is still a very talented player with 5-star potential and great ability straight away. He comes in as our direct replacement for Riquelme. But we still had money to spend, so we bought in another 20-year-old German, this time Asan Udrego, joining us from league rival Schalke for 18.5 million. He was on the transfer list there because he wanted to leave. He was upset about being at a club that didn't have a great squad. He's joined us. Not going to lie, I don't think our squad is too great either, Asan, but we'll certainly take him. Valued at nearly £50 million now. He is a great player in all departments, 6'4", and a phenomenal signing for us. The Germans kept on coming in though. Another 20-year-old. It is Dennis Seaman who is coming in now as our new goalkeeper. We've sent Franco Israel out on loan for the year. I couldn't sell him this season, so I'm going to plan to sell him next season, but Seaman comes in as a better goalkeeper with way more potential, and I think this is a brilliant signing from Stuttgart for 8.75 million. And then our replacement for Juranovic is Issa Kabore, who joins us from Manchester City for £8 million. He's played for Luton, Marseille, Troyes. He's been around the block and did pretty well for Luton last year in the Championship. A very pacey right back who's going to help us a lot going forward, as well as defensively. At 25, he's got a few years to get better, and then again, we'll try and sell him on for a profit. So this is now our best 11. I would put Dennis Seaman in goal there, but it is Seaman, Kabore, Doki Sole, Lello, Odrego Yashari, Quinn Sullivan, Kanushchan, Constance Elias, and Fernino. Meaning Doki is the only player left from the team that we originally inherited. Still a few of those original players playing on the bench for us here. We are starting to develop a very strong squad, and in terms of the season preview, we are predicted 8th, which is obviously still way off that title, and I really don't think we're going to win it. Maybe by the end of the video I'll have proved myself wrong, but in our 4th year here, we're predicted 8th. We've got to play in the Champions League as well, with not much squad depth, 50-1 odds to win the title. I wouldn't expect a top division win, but this season we'll be going in with hopes of finishing in a Champions League spot yet again, and maybe making it to the knockouts of the UCL. Maybe I was a bit ambitious though, because once again, it's been a fairly disappointing season. Firstly, the Pokal we seem to be allergic to. Knocked out again in the second round by a team in a division lower than us. The Champions League, we went no further than the league phase. We only won 1 match out of our 8. We drew 1 game as well and then lost 6, getting a total of 4 points. Nowhere near qualifying. The Bundesliga, 5th place isn't bad, don't get me wrong, but when you finish so badly in everything else, you want to do well in that competition. We did okay, but it's a bit of a backstep from the other year. 62 points, 10 losses, 5 draws, 19 wins, still quite a few points away from that 4th place spot with Dortmund. Leipzig again go on to win the title with 83 points, and I really don't think we're going to topple them or Bayern Munich anytime soon. So it has been a pretty weird season for us. We haven't really upgraded the facilities or anything yet, but financially the club is doing a lot better after that year in the Champions League. £33 million in the balance, only £3 million in the debts and loans, and we've got over £30 million to spend next summer. So in that sense, things are going well. We've got the club regularly finishing in European competition, which is going to help us out overall. Our top performers were Dennis Seaman, Udrego, Lello, Doki and Kabore. We got 18 goals out of Fernino, still not enough though, playing 42 times this year. And Kanush-Chan had a decent first year for us, getting 9 goals and 1 assist in 31 appearances. So with money to spend and a 4-star reputation, we'll hopefully be able to bring in some better players now this summer to really enhance our team. We're going to be playing in the Europa League for our final season, so there'll be no Champions League win. Surprise, I don't think anyone thought we'd ever get there. But in our final season, we've got money to spend, so let's see who we can bring in to help this team. Firstly, I've decided it's time to move on from Fernino, so we've shipped him off to Freiburg at 26. He never did too well for us. Scored a few goals, don't get me wrong, but overall I think we could do a lot better than him, so he's gone for 7.5 mil. We make a profit and we thank him for his contribution. Franco Israel has left. The goalkeeper joined us for 2.7 mil. Played well for a couple of years, loaned out to Brighton, did poorly, and now we've sold him on to Valencia. Just over £4 million, he goes to be their first choice keeper. Federico Redondo never quite hit the heights here for us at Union Berlin. Only played 12 times last year, all off the bench, so he wanted to go, and we let him go to Salernitana for 3.4 million. Rainier had a good first year, but then settled into his old ways of not playing much and not playing too well, so we've let him move on for 2.7 mil to join Monza, but at least we make a profit and got some decent performances out of him. And we say goodbye to the American Alejandro Zendejas, who joins Bordeaux now. Spent 3 years at the club, did well when called upon, but didn't really play much. Started 3 games in his most recent season. He wanted out, and we kind of just let him have his wish. Coming in though is Fabio Carvalho of Liverpool on a free transfer. A player with a lot of potential but never got the chance at Liverpool. Played well for Braga, went out on loan there, so now that he was available as a free agent, we snapped him up. Chelsea's star boy in real life but not quite working for him in the FM world, Cole Palmer, has joined us for 12 million. Didn't play much after signing for Chelsea for £40 million. Not rated very highly in Football Manager just yet. I'm sure that will change after the winter update. But yes, we paid £12 million for an attacking midfield option who can also play on the right hand side too. Hopefully he'll do well for us. And then we have 2 star players joining us, 2 star wonder kids, new gen players. I know a lot of you won't like new gens, but 5 years in, you kind of have to pick up a few. Kofi Amponsa Kawame is a Ghanaian 18-year-old labelled as a wonder kid, signing for 5 million from Northland after 2 great seasons there at the ages of 16 and 17. A quick winger who can finish, has great first touch and is very determined, valued at over 80 million. We had to go for him. And then we have a new striker who I think is going to be absolutely elite. This is Nikos Kalagakaros, and I've definitely butchered the pronunciation of that, but he is a Greek forward with 4 goals in 13 international appearances. He's been scoring quite a lot in the Belgian leagues. We've paid £24 million for him, so it's our biggest transfer yet, a big risk, but he's got the attributes to perform well. He's valued at 70 million, so for that kind of fee, I'll really be hoping that that transfer works out, but our best 11 for our final season in the Bundesliga looks like this, and again, it is only Doki who survives that original team that we took over. Seaman is in goal as one of the best keepers in the league, Kabore at right back with Doki, Soleil, Lello, Udrego, Yashari, Quinn Sullivan, Constant Elias on the left, who has continued to develop into a very, very good player on that left-hand side, Kanush-Chan through the middle, and then Kaligerakos through the attack. We've got some better players when it comes to the squad depth as well now, so hopefully that will mean better things for us this year. In terms of the season preview, we've gone up to 6th. We've finally moved up with 50-1 odds to win the league. We're definitely not going to win it in our final season. Hopefully though, we can qualify for the Champions League yet again and give ourselves a good account in the Europa League, which will be a lot more winnable for us. We've also still got a lot of money in the balance, which we can use to hopefully upgrade the facilities as the season goes on. So let's see how we can do in our 5th and final season at the club. And that is what we love to see. They might be threatened with relegation in real life, but we have delivered Union Berlin a European trophy, winning the Europa League, beating Galatasaray 2-0 in the final. The Pokal, let's just forget that ever existed, because yet again, knocked out in the second round by Schalke this time. So it's actually a Bundesliga club for once. The league, we got 60 points, finished in 5th place, but we were playing European competition for the full season, so I accept that there will be a bit of a backstep from our team, but still 60 points is good. We've qualified for the Champions League now because of that Europa League win. 8 losses, 9 draws, and 17 wins across the course of a season. A much better year from us, but we do need to score more because that goal difference is shockingly bad. Only 1 point away from 4th. But yes, the Europa League, let's see how we did it. Firstly, we have the league phase where we finished in 11th place with 4 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses. That then put us in to the knockout playoff round where we faced off against Cercle Bruges, beat them 8-2 on aggregate in a comfortable win. Round of 16, we took on Dortmund and beat them 6-3 on aggregate, knocking out a fellow German side. We then took on Fiorentina, beat them 6-3 on aggregate. Then Napoli 9-8. An incredible tie there, 8-5 at home to take us into the final against Galatasaray. We need to see more about this. We lost 3-1 in the home leg. We actually went away to the Maradona Stadium and beat them 8-5 with 2 goals in extra time. That is such an incredible game and will go down as probably the best game in Europa League history, I'd argue. Then we go to Galatasaray, Adrego scores, and then Parma, and then they get a man sent off. Let's see the goals from the final, which we absolutely dominated by the look of it with our new look team. And actually, there is no Docky in the first 11, so this is a completely new side for us. No one from that original Union Berlin team playing in the final. Here's Adrego early on the edge of that box to Kabore, to Kouame, back to Kabore, through to Adrego, who hit it hard into the top left corner to open the scoring. He looks so big in game at 6'4", doesn't he? Adrego, what a player, man. Then we had Kanushchan go forward only a couple minutes later. Adrego plays it through, finds Carvalho, who chips it in to Cole Palmer. The 2 new signings from this season combining for the goal. Palmer slots it in, and that is a 2-0 win. That's given the club their first European trophy, and we are delighted to say that. We're a 4-star club now. We've fixed the debt at the club. We've got the finances in a good place, and we've got much better training and youth facilities than before. So if you guys do go to Patreon and continue this rebuild, you'll have that to look forward to. With 57 million in the transfer budget and 21 million pounds in the balance, you'll have money to spend to try and challenge for that Champions League. But there we go. That is a rebuild complete. Union Berlin taken from the bottom of the table to Europa League glory. Like the video if you enjoyed for me, smash the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.